So you're about 190 feet off the ground right here.
Once you've got the first staging up, or the first deck up, you know, there's firm basis for going higher.
Look at
up,
that.
Then you...
All right, let me hit pause. That's Fred Dibnah. When the channel started, several of you said, have you ever seen Fred Dibnah's videos? And I had not. And I started watching him, and I've been intending to do this because Fred was the last of his kind. He was from Bolton. You're listening to a Bolton accent. I can scarcely understand him. But what I can understand is that he's doing a man's work. He was the last of the Steeplejacks. And in this video, he's putting scaffolding around a ginormous industrial smokestack by himself. And when I watch him work, I realize he's a window into the past, when people did work like this and didn't think one thing of it. Now we watch Alex Hannold climb El Cap. We're thunderstruck, and he is a breed apart. He's a Superman. But what Fred Dibnah did for pay is in many ways similar. So let's just go back to the top, get a look at this, and try to wrap our minds around what's going on the inside of a man who can go 200 feet in the air and then build his own scaffold by himself. Okay, so he's like a speck on the side of that thing.
200-foot factory chimney, and fix it all up. And
he's going to fix it all up.
To talk to.
So the ladder was apparently in place. There's another video of him putting a ladder up the side of a chimney. We'll find that someday. But he's trusting his life to work that other men did that's been withstanding the elements. Okay, so 200 feet. The rungs on most ladders are a foot apart. 200 steps. What's that? 20 stories.
Father-in-law were a bit stuck over a steeplejack, and
good heavens. I assume that ladder is made of wood, painted red. So the ropes are there. There were ropes alongside of that ladder already. Oh, he's already been up there once, it looks like. You see that cross up there on the left-hand side? I think that's his work from previously. And as I watch this, I realize in a little bit there's going to be a photographer up there with him.
First thing I've got to do is get me bosun's chair up.
Bosun's chair.
In a position,
drawing his plan. So that's where he's going to be sitting and swinging. Got a ground man.
Up comes 4 iron pins on
iron pins.
dogs.
Iron pins and dogs.
The purpose of these is to support a great bulk of timber, which will come up next.
A great bulk of timber that'll come up next. That's a long ways to pull a board that probably weighs 30 pounds, 40 pounds. So now he's chiseling, he's driving the holes into the masonry that he's going to be standing on.
When the batten comes up the chimney, it's tied onto the line that goes from another pulley wheel at the top.
Okay, there's a pulley at the top and the man on the ground is pulling it.
In a position about 4 feet from one end, and then the rope runs up the side.
Oh, you see that? It's a double, they tie it twice. They tie it down below, and then it's tied again about 4 feet from the end, he said. So it presents to him in a way that he can handle it. And now what?
And then I put the next pin.
Oh, and then I put the next pin.
Underneath that side of it. 2 more over the top. So then I've got it so it won't
drive it in through the mortar.
Down, it won't rattle about.
So it won't rattle about. The ends of that is upset. You can see he's beat on that plenty over the years.
In a bosun's
ground
chair,
man.
If you've looked after all the rope and all the tackle, you have a beautiful sense of security.
A beautiful sense of security.
The rope will hold a couple of ton and you weigh nowhere near that. And
okay, let's talk about that. A beautiful sense of security. In those other videos, or one of them, he's working up there with nothing because he's the first, there's nothing above him as he goes up. Much like Alex Hannold, right? Now, Alex Hannold is a young man, a freak of nature. And there were medical tests done on his brain that turns out, yes, he is a freak of nature. He doesn't feel fear. He climbed El Capitan solo freestyle. If you've got a stronger stomach than it takes for this, watch him do that. And so let me just comment on the strange dynamic in our society, and that is Alex is a hero. You know, popular media, popular culture points out that nobody had ever done anything like climbing El Cap in, 3.5 hours or something? The first time it was climbed, it took 2 weeks. When I watched him the first time, my response was, put that kid in jail because 16-year-old boys are going to want to copy what he's doing and somebody will be hurt. Which is what an OSHA inspector would say if he walked onto a job like this and saw a man doing this for pay. There's something about doing it for pay which contaminates the adventure dynamic. I don't get that. Fred did this because he loved it.
Like really, pays you to look after your equipment because, you know, like if that bloody rope breaks, you're dead.
You fall, you're dead.
It's, half a day with the undertaker.
Come off there with the undertaker. Look at that.
Sort of,
Look at him do that.
You know, like when I get on my seat board, I give it a little bounce and just see whether it's safe or not, you know, and more often, well, it's never broke yet, you know.
Now, he's not tied to that rope. He's not tied to that board. He's sitting in the board, right? But it's got some sort of a back in it. He can never forget where he's at.
Or if it does break.
Rigging's important.
The next thing that comes up are two things called legs, which are
legs.
pieces of 2.5 inch by about 4 inch timber.
2.5 by 4.
An hole in each end.
Pretty smooth.
This batten has a series of holes drilled in it, and I've then
Okay, got
proceeded
holes.
to bolt one on there
Bracing.
and one over there, like so.
Over there. Man,
And then
I have
I'll
friends
lower
in Great
myself
Britain.
down on my bosun's chair and mark a suitable joint at the bottom and knock a pin through there and a pin through there.
Suitable joint. He's going through the
So
joints.
I've then got that like all braced up quite solid.
Quite solid. Whoa. How are you going to put that in, Fred?
And I've got this big iron rod and I've got to send it over to the far batten.
Oh, I see
That
it.
means maybe
He's got to launch it
14
over there,
feet
cantilever
across
the end.
or 12 foot on a reasonable chimney stack.
Look at that.
I've got to get that rod onto the other batten so that it's in
Without
like,
dropping
line with
it.
an hole, and as it scrapes down
Without
the
dropping
face,
it on his friends.
give it a shove through the hole, you know. And if you're lucky, you'll get it through, sort of thing.
Missed it.
It's rather a tricky bit, man.
Keep your running shoes on, boys. Yeah, they're keeping an eye on that rod.
See, all
Oh,
the
he got
modern men use aluminium scaffolding tubing now, but I like this way of doing it. It's a
He
bit
doesn't
more
use
awkward,
aluminium
but when
scaffold
you've got it
tubing.
all up, it's quite solid.
Makes it quite solid. So that holding that cantilever and then launching it at the right second, like that, what a relief. And then run it back
And
through the
when
hole.
you've finally got the rods through the two sets of holes, then you put the washers and the nuts on, or a few packing pieces, so you can slightly cramp them up around the chimney.
Cramp them up, tighten it up slightly. You don't want to break nothing, but you want friction. So there are feelings of relief. Not that I've done anything like this, but in stacking and building temporary scaffolding, like you said, it's a feeling of relief. It's not just the relief that it's done, it's the relief that now I've got a place to work. And so I can start thinking about the next stage, and instead of fixating on how in the world am I going to get that rod across there and tightened up, and it's a progressive fulfillment, right?
And when it arrives at the top, it's tied on in a special way that when I untie it, I can get like one plank across there, like so, and one across there,
How are you going to do that, buddy? Because they're heavy.
like so, and then another one next to it, you see, all the way around the top. And so that when you walk on them, they don't go like up and down like that.
And you tie them together.
Two iron plates with a bolt through the middle, which makes them two boards as one.
Wow.
In a wind like today, sort of older chimneys, you know, you get about 2 or 3 inches swaying about, you know.
Okay, hold that.
It's actual-
In a wind like today, he says you get 2 or 3 inches of sway. 2 or 3 inches when you're up there is something a guy would notice. I wonder how windy it is. Okay, he's all the way around.
We've got all the big planks in position. On a large diameter chimney, there's a great gap in the corner, so we've got 4 boards called corner boards that
Corner
fits
boards. Gotta
across
cut
the
that corner.
corners, you see, like so. which like stops you falling through the hole in the corner.
Stops you from falling through there. So they're lashed together. Very particular lashing, I'll bet. Look at that bitter end tucked under that rope.
Once you've got the first staging up, or the first deck up, you know, there's firm basis for going higher up, then you chisel the holes for the next staging. Wonderful sensation is to turn round and put your back to the wall, and so your vision's straight out, and you appear to be just suspended in air, you know, 200 feet up off the floor. And you're like, as though you're just hanging off somewhere up in heaven, you know, in the clouds. Which is nice, because you can sit there and have a smoke and sort of look about, you know, and survey the land. You know, I think about what I'm going to do with my engine at home tonight and what...
Okay, think about what I'm going to do with my engine at home. He also had a steam engine, a traction steam engine, and he blacksmithed and he rebuilt the steam engine, and he's an amazing, amazing guy. And the British loved him. And now I talk to my friend in Britain, and he is just so dismayed at the change in the culture and the fact that a man who thought and worked like this would be imprisoned. He would be excoriated, and on social media he would be by some revered and by some hated. Sorry, Nick. I'm sorry you don't have more Fred Dibnahs over there. We don't have many of them over here either.
Big problem can we solve? You know, solve
Look at the shadow. Look at that thing casting the shadow.
Factory chimneys.
Okay, so we've come to the end of this. If you've not met Fred before, I probably talked so much that I've robbed the joy of it. But you can go to YouTube and watch him and try to listen to his Bolton accent and figure out what in the world he's saying, and think hard about what in the world it took mentally and physically for him to do that. He had done it since he was a young man. There are videos of him toppling, falling, if you will, chimneys like that, who had outlived their usefulness. He knew how to take them down. Think of that. And he would chisel out what would be the face, the Humboldt face. If you were cutting a piece of timber, falling a tree, he would take that out with a chisel. He would put jacks and timbers in there to hold the gap, to hold it. And then he would build a fire. And the fire would soften the bricks and soften the mortar and consume the cribbing. And at a particular moment, the chimney would be left unsupported on one side, and down it would go. No blasting, no dynamite, no excavators, no wrecking balls, nothing but ingenuity and experience and courage. Fred may be, and if you have a better example than Fred, please put it in the comments. Please put the other things in the comments that you've learned from Fred and that you think we could learn from Fred, that I could learn from Fred. I don't think I could have carried his water. Now that's a metaphor for being unable to keep up with a man, right? That puts somebody like me on a job with somebody like him, the guys that built those cathedrals, that built those pyramids, that built the amazing things, that Empire State Building. I couldn't carry their water. That means they would drink more water in a day than an ordinary man could carry around. It's a metaphor. But in some ways, it's not a metaphor. In some ways, it is accurate. I would have loved to have known Fred. I think he would have had a lot in common with Swan. In any case, go to their channel. Thank the BBC for me. And then spread the word of Fred Dibnah, because there may be young men in your circle that need to look into the past, at the things that people could and would and were compelled and enjoyed doing to feed their families, that were more productive than climbing El Capitan. Thanks for watching Essential Craftsman, and keep up the good work.